Clouds gather everywhere. With utmost sincerity, all Buddhas appear. We pay homage, we offer clouds of incense to the bodhisattvas and the mahasattvas. We pay homage, we offer clouds of incense to the bodhisattvas and the mahasattvas. We pay homage, we offer clouds of incense to the bodhisattvas and the mahasattvas. So it's my job to really tell you the truth, and I'm gonna do that today. And I hope this doesn't offend anybody. What would be offensive is to not speak the truth, because we can grow and advance, and we become a hindrance to others. Yesterday, I allowed someone to come over and visit with Panyadeepa because they've been wanting to for a very long time. And when I walked in the room, because we have to keep the time short, because it really wears him out. But I heard the discussion, and the discussion was around what's wrong with, like having things, buying things, and enjoying things, and that's all right, isn't it? And I just let the conversation be as it was, but I'll tell you that that's inappropriate conversation for a man who's dying, who has spent and dedicated his life to seeking out the sublime things and coming to know what is true and what is real, because you want from the words of a dying man that you respect. You want them to say it's okay for you to indulge. You can indulge. You don't have to ask anybody's permission because you're grown, But when we come without any, it's a way one doesn't see their own kilesas. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, sister, could you do me a favor and sit over there so that I don't have to go both sides? Thank you. That's okay. She can sit right there. It'll be good. So, so it would not, at that time, that person needs whatever support they can towards what their end game was, not you feeling okay to be happy with your things. So really, I'm a little bit perturbed today. I hope I got that out in a compassionate and straightforward manner. So if you ask to visit Panyadeepa and you do visit him with his end game in mind, because he's close to it. And don't waste our time. You don't need anybody to give you permission or approve anything that you like. Have whatever you want, do whatever you want, okay? So there's some things I'm not gonna waste my time with anymore, be bothered with. And I'm saying there's nothing wrong with having things. I have some things myself, but I'm checking to make sure that nothing has me. Some of this conversation, is that, they're trying to do something. They're, trying to buy a house, and that's good. Anybody who can afford a house and needs a house should get a house. A house is just a house, but when there's a lot of upsetness around it because, what I like costs this much, but I can't afford that, and all of that kind of grasping, if that's how you want to engage your life, go ahead. But don't take up my time with it, because you're here with me for a different purpose, to try to take you out of some of that angsting. So I made a suggestion. Well, you don't have to have, and I named where, like where they came from, because I know what that image is of what one should have to be, to be successful. And when you buy into that, then you're not satisfied unless you have that, because that speaks to who you are in front of other people. But not only that, it starts to get into you, and it speaks to who you are inside of you. So you'd rather work and spend 70% of your income to have the house that's befitting of you, instead of seeing it merely as a place for shelter and doing what you can within your means. And so that's all we're trying to do. We're not trying to make anybody do anything they don't want to do, give up anything they don't want to give up, or have anything they want to have. I'm not talking about that at all, you know. And so when you get together with Dharma friends, concern yourself with the more sublime things, the higher things of life, and make good use of that time. And don't fret and weigh people down with your worldly notions. So if you're within the sound of my voice, I'm speaking to you, everybody who hears it. This is true compassion. True compassion tells you the truth. If you wanted to find out a way to get out of something, and you go to the place where you can find out, but you go there, and instead of using that time to hear what you need to hear, to reflect upon it, to try to exercise some of it to the degree that you can, is worthy. But if you take the time to go there and take up other people's time to fight for what you already have without going there, no need to go there. No need to go there. Time is short. People are dying. And not only that, if we see it, you know, sometimes we're struggling to see and understand something that we just don't have the karma for, you know. And if we, when I say we don't have the karma for it, I don't mean that it's not possible because someone is deficient. It means that the right causes and conditions have not come together yet, you know, for them to be able to understand it and to walk in it. Is everybody clear on that? Otherwise, you'll spend all your energy. It's like trying to dig a trench that connects you to water, you know, and the water's over there and you're over here, and you're digging a trench that will connect you to the water. It's like just digging straight down into a hole. You will waste your time. You will waste your time, and you will not have accomplished anything for anyone. So don't, I say to you, if you're on a trajectory, don't let anyone distract you and take you away from that. And some of the joy, they said, well, like then where's the joy? You know, the joy comes in knowing that you can have things without them having you, that you can see the beauty of something because you're not, it's not pressing in on you. It allows, and that you can't really explain to someone, you know. You can try and try and try and try, but they're going to come at you again and again with their yeah buts and their yeah buts, and you just have to leave it, you know, and use your energy where you can help someone, where somebody's really seeing the truth of that and are ready to step forward, or you'll burn yourself out and you will not have accomplished anything for anyone. And then it also will put you in a position where you do things that actually become harmful. I considered last night harmful to Panya Deepa in the state that he's in. And if this experiment doesn't go well, I'll let a brother just sleep out and I'll send you all the notice. Okay. So we're studying No Time to Lose. I mean, the book has this title for a reason because we really have no time to lose. Time is short, you know. And who knows, in the very next minute, you could say something that could really save a person's life, or if not, lift them to, elevate them to a higher level, so that even though they may not be off the wheel of samsara, they come back in a more sublime state, in a heavenly realm, in a, you know, even if they come back to this world, you know, the only reason that we have the great fortune and opportunity to hear some teachings now, and to be able, when I say hear them, I mean really hear them, not just the blah, 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 the moving of the mouth and some sounds, but to hear them, to understand them, to take them into our heart, to they impinge upon us, they vibrate in a certain way that gives us life. That's why there can be joy in that. And that's how renunciation arises. Renunciation comes about as one becomes more attuned to the greater virtues. There's a particular phrase that's used in the suttas, and it speaks of a mundane, ordinary virtue, like don't, like when you don't do this and you no longer do that, and you do this, and these things help in an ordinary sense. But then he talks about the stream enter. When one has entered the stream carries you somewhere. It doesn't leave you in place with, but you're journeying further. And there's some qualities, there's some virtues, so when we start reciting and taking it into our heart as a confession of our faith, and as a verification, a profession of our understanding, when we start taking the vows, Adina Dana, and going up through the 10 qualities, or even just the five precepts. And when we start with those precepts, the Buddha calls those sublime precepts. It's a different level of seeing, a different level of understanding. And the things that you found joy in when I was a child, I spoke like a child, I acted like a child, I did things that a child did. But when I became an adult, I put away childish things. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with those things. So don't ask me, is there anything wrong with having a house or having a car or buying clothes? We don't have to have that conversation, but when it says I put away childish things, it means that one considers, has a different consideration of what the goal of life is. And when they see it in that way, they're no longer grasping after things. They have what they have, they don't have what they don't have, and they enjoy what comes, but there's not that whole sense of my worth as a person is tied up in these things, because not even in the end, not even in the long run, in the short run, they're useless. If you don't have anything that you can't stand to lose, that's what I'll say. Whether that's a relationship with a human being or with things, don't have anything that'll keep you up at night worrying about losing him or her or it. That's how you know whether it's grasping, when you want things and you can't get them or can't afford them, or you have things and you're worried about somebody taking them. It's a whole different perspective. Although I have to admit, Sister Busita gave me a car this year, and a tree limb fell on my car, and my feelings did get a little bit hurt. And I've never cared about a car, but if I have my cars, I don't know, a house could fall on the car and I wouldn't care. But, this was such a nice car that she gave me. She could have sold that car, and made thousands of dollars for herself. And I really, really appreciate that she gave me something that was so nice. And so if I had bought it for myself, I don't know why that, just thinking about that really, really moves me, because if I had bought it for myself, I don't really care, But the fact that someone gave me something that was precious, because you should see some things I give. I get people's leftovers. I get, and it's really, really okay. It is. It's really okay. But I recognize and I appreciate. I haven't had a car since I was a Cadillac girl. I got new one every year. You know, and they would say, "Oh, I have a BMW." I said, "They ride like trucks." You know, but a Cadillac was a smooth ride. I mean, like you're on a cloud. You don't even know you move. It's like being in a boat. You know, and so I stayed with Cadillac. But when I took up this job, you know, that was my last car, and I kept it till it was almost falling apart. And then I said, well, you know, it's not even seemly to have it. People think I'm using their offerings, you know. I mean, they were expensive to maintain and things like that. So I got rid of it and I got something that was like 4-cylinder putts and was 20 years old and continued. So the car's just very nice. And the tree limb fell and put 2 little dents in the car and knocked the mirror off. So I said, Kay, how can I get this fixed? She said, well, you know, that's going to cost a lot because it's an electronic window. You know, I don't have to turn it myself. Just press a button and the mirror, side mirror, you know, line. So I said, how about I just cut and tape the wires and just go buy a mirror that sticks on the door like that. She said, oh, that won't look right on the car. So I said, oh, okay, so I'm gonna break down. I'm gonna get that fixed, sister. So I know you walk out and see it sometimes and wonder. But it's not that I don't appreciate the car, you know, and that as soon as you give it to me, I'm just gonna let it just get all torn up. But I'm saying that to kind of speak to the craving that one has to abandon when we talk about giving up things. I'm talking about the craving for things and the yearning, whatever you can easily have, please enjoy. You know, good fortune belongs, you know, goodness and good fortune, they go together, you know. So please don't think that I'm trying to say that you have to walk around in rags and you have to sell everything you have and give to the poor. And you have to, because I'm not speaking that, but I'm speaking about an attitude of the heart that makes you not cling and grasp after this world. Because if you do, when you die, the mind stream will turn towards that clinging and grasping. It doesn't say, okay, finish with that now. What's next? It draws towards what it left. So make sure when you're leaving this world that you're not taking anything with you. Otherwise, there will be a reappearance in this world. So I'm speaking of the way of the Bodhisattva. We can't think in our head that we want to be a Bodhisattva and then spend all of our time running after our cravings and trying to convince people we're all right. I've been drinking a lot. That means I need to attend to my sugar. So believe it or not, we are going to get through this book before, when does summer start? June 25th. Okay, well, we want to get through this book by the start of summer, but we'll get through it. Thank you, Joe. We'll get through it. We'll get through it. And so I think we're on page 64, talking about transcending hesitation, or 63. And it says that nirvana, that absolute peace, is attained by giving all. Nirvana, the objective of my striving, everything therefore must be abandoned, and it is best to give it all. to others. And so at some point, one loses delight in accumulations, and they gain delight in in giving to others. They give of their possessions, they give of their wealth, they give of their time, they give of their inspiration, they give of their aspiration. They think of how they can spend the day lifting someone. When they see someone, it's hardly a time. I honestly can't think of a time that someone that I encounter someone and we have a conversation and we just like blah blah. Every encounter turns into a Dharma talk. It just does, because once the Dharma eye has arisen, everything is seen through the lens of the Dharma. You know, it's a different way of seeing, a different way of knowing the world. It's a different way of interacting and being with each other. Suka, can I share about your poem? So Suka sent me a poem yesterday. It was a beautiful poem, but in the poem, I felt a little bit of struggle with her, a little bit of yearning, and she was, and in it, it was called Waiting, you know, and there was a little bit of I felt a tinge of frustration, and also when you're striving for something and it's close, you see it, it's in your view, and yet you just can't put your hand on it. And this was around her spiritual practice, wanting to like fully be a bodhisattva, and something's just not totally settled into the groove yet. And so she sent me this poem, and I saw her that. And immediately there was just such a love and a compassion for her, because it's all already there. There's not going to be any more there available to her than what's there available right now. If she could only feel it, make contact with it, and fully enter into it, it's right there right now, because she's done the work for, you know, she's done the work to access it. That's why there's some of the anxiousness that's arising. It's like when you have been on a long journey and you're driving home, and you're almost home, and you're tired, you just want to be there, you know, like because how much long? It's almost there, and there's a little anxiousness to get there, and yet there's also I should have been there by now, you know. And thank you, sister. And so I felt some of that as her spirit came to abide with me, and I immediately wrote back some words to her and rewrote her poem. Now I started thinking, I said, oh my goodness, I'm getting like the we did a song for Buddha Master. We went in, and when we sent it in, it came back to us rewritten. How you gonna rewrite my song? You know, it was my first thought. How you gonna rewrite my song? This is my testimony. You can't rewrite my testimony. You know, and I was a little bit offended, you know, in the beginning, and they were saying, but that's not Buddha Dharma. You know, so do you want me to help you? You know, that came the final question, you know, like, well, do you want me to help? I'm like, yes. And so they rewrote some lines in our song. And now I'm looking at how every time I sing the song with those rewritten lyrics, correcting my view and just slightly adjusting my mirror, you know, and now I see things differently. I see things in alignment with the Dharma. It was something that had me vectored off just a bit, and I couldn't see clearly. I couldn't run in tandem with the Dharma, carried away by how I felt about something, how I saw something. But they were saying, let me show you a more excellent way of how to look at this. You know, but you got to be willing to listen. You know, it's not about what's in my mind, unless I've overcome. If I've overcome, if I understand it perfectly, I can demonstrate it perfectly, then I can speak. But if that time has not come, I need to be more willing to listen than, than to speak, or at least not to cling tenaciously to what I think if the perfection is not there. So that was a lesson for me, and I appreciate that lesson. Buddha Master was a little kinder in one of the songs that we wrote that we actually sang to him at the temple. He did this, and he just saw our it was like a parent just looking at their little toddler, he just moving his head with the song, and we were like just going. We're like just going, you know how we do in Buddhism, like we're all quiet, we're down, paying homage, and everybody's like so perfect, and we up there just singing, and I don't think he's seen anything like it before in Buddhism, honestly. I know. Oh, these are those Westerners. Especially those Black ones. They're like just, they can't keep still, But we learned it's in our DNA to rejoice, because sometimes our inner rejoicing was all that we as a people have had to hold on to keep us going. So we're able to undergo a lot of adversity, and it's a gift now that we can offer, but you got to get over your own anger and all of that about what you've had to go through. But if you can get beyond that, then you have a resourcefulness. You have certain attainment that even though it came through hardship and trouble, you can use it to help people, to lift people, to show people how much strength they actually have, to encourage people that nothing need hold you down, because honestly, we have need of nothing. And if one can really get that inside, there would be nothing that we could not accomplish. It's just if we're trying to accomplish for the sake of good. But if one is after revenge, or one is just want somebody to pay for what they did because it was wrong, yes, it was wrong, but we don't want to pay for every wrong thing we do. And if we've done it out of ignorance, or if we even do it out of ignorance, find a way to tell me about it, and try to work through it, because I believe people really do want to see, people really do want to do good, even those that have been so messed up, through abuse, or through just the coming up in an environment of ignorance, where they have been given a view and they hold that view, and many have suffered themselves because of that very same ignorance. It has affected them in ways. I mean, it's like bullies. Bullies come from being bullied, being treated badly. So whenever I see somebody with a certain kind of behavior, I recognize that behavior gets instilled through infliction. It being inflicted upon them, and they can't give it back to the perpetrator. If they could have whooped them, they would have. So then it just trickles like water rolling downhill. And sometimes a person treats people with disdain and disrespect because in their own circles where they live, they have been or are treated with disdain and with disrespect. So the best way to help someone who is disrespectful is by showing respect, demonstrating what respect looks like. So take the very things that you see that you don't want to give any understanding to, and there's where you have to do your work as a bodhisattva to apply the understanding. That's what I'm trying to help you see. We are not going to become bodhisattvas by reading a book about bodhisattvas. We're not going to become bodhisattvas by reading these words and ruminating over them and talking about how sweet they are. But it comes through overcoming the trials and the tribulations in your life. So that's how one becomes a bodhisattva. We have to work through and overcome the hardship of neglect, of fear, of being accosted physically or verbally, and in those places that hurt us is where we have to bring a salve of healing to ourselves and to offer that to the world. That's what I'm saying. It's not I have plenty and I give you some. I'm such a bodhisattva. It's not like that at all. So don't think you can just go through your house now and go through your things and look at your time. I have so much free time. I'll give an hour at the soup kitchen and say, oh, I'm a bodhisattva, because every week I go and serve at the soup kitchen. You'll wake up in the fifth hell somewhere, hell realm somewhere, because you've not given anything. But when one truly gives all that brought them pain and suffering, and exchange that for love and for generosity, then that's the heart of a bodhisattva. So we have to go deeper than we go. We can't win the prize through buying books. And a lot of us buy books because they sound good and we don't even read them. So I'll say through buying books, or even through reading books, or through agreeing that's the way to be, or even through being that way from our places of abundance. But we have to give our all. Giving our all means going truly to the places that scare us. I would not give you false hope. I know it's challenging today, but like the Dharma says, the Dharma is the solution. And it's only a moment away. We got to find that song, write that down. We used to sing it. So when we're speaking now about transcending hesitation, what is it for me to transcend the hesitation? What is it for me to abandon and give up my cares for the things that I hold so dear? It's not like I remember I had some coats because somebody broke into my house. And I think I had 5 coats in the closet. One of them was a very expensive coat. And I had like a leather coat in there, and I had, some other things that I thought if somebody took something, they would take. But this was a wool coat, but it was finely made coat, and it was worth all the other 4 coats combined. And somebody broke in the house, they took that coat, because they knew the quality of that. I thought somebody was looking at this old wool coat, and go for the more stylish coats, but they took that coat, and I was really shocked because at that time I lived in a neighborhood where I didn't think anybody would even know the value of that coat. And but it's like that. It's like when we're going to give something, do we give people from our extra, what we have readily available, what we have plenty of, what we don't care that much about, or do we give them our best? Well, we used to have a thrift store and we closed it because people would just bring us their junk. And then they didn't even bring us clothes dirty, It's like we should be so grateful. But not in that way should we give anything. We should always give our best. If we're doing something, if we're participating in some activity, if we sign up and join something, we should give our best. It means doing whatever we have to do when we appear, when we show up for that activity, and doing whatever we have to do to prepare so that when we show up, we can be ready. We can be ready to work. It's not just one more thing that we do, offering our best. And that offering comes up out of the heart. I'd rather see you wait and not do anything until one can do it with their whole heart. They were sharing, we were inquired the other day, and they were sharing about, I think it was last Thursday's contemplation. And I saw the tears start dropping from Joe's eyes. And he was talking about how it really touched him, that he really reaching a space, not just talking, not just saying something, but really opening one's heart to the teachings, really being vulnerable before wisdom itself, really submitting and subjecting our hearts to know the truth, really not looking for an excuse, but looking for a way to surrender even more, to let go in an even deeper way, to the understanding that we want to grasp. It takes being all in, is what I'm saying. If you want anything from this path, it requires being all in, because you only get out of it what you offer to it. But when you do, just a taste gives you a certain kind of delight, and it ignites something that lets you know I should be going in this way, that my fulfillment lies there, not in the ways and attitudes that I've held in the past. So it's only until you're looking for a new way, looking for a way of escape for what's eating you up inside that I may never know about, that you may never tell another person about. Sometimes some secrets come out and I'm like, well, I never would have thought that. Actually, some things rise up about me that I'm like, well, I never would have thought that about me. So it's so wonderful to be in a place where the light of the wisdom can shine on you. It reveals things about you. You thought it was somebody else holding you back. It wasn't them at all. It was you. It was your way, your view, your tendency. So stepping onto this path is not for more certificates for us to hold up before the world. But it's like stepping into a room that gets brighter and brighter until we can truly see ourselves. And the purpose for having a teacher is for them to be a mirror by which you can see yourself. They have nothing to prove to a teacher. To your teacher, have nothing actually, it's like we don't really exist. Anything one does for their teacher, they do for themselves. I have a very difficult teacher. You know, it's just difficult because we're different. And sometimes, you know, things rise up in me because we're different. But I always have to stop and think, this is my teacher. You know, and when I honor her in a certain way, who am I honoring? I'm honoring myself. Honoring myself because the teacher is your what? I just said, yeah, teacher is your mirror. Excuse me, I have a little sugar drop. Sorry. Okay. So it says that when we think of being a bodhisattva or giving, and when we have a desire to do that and we long to help, there is a benefit that comes at a deeper level. It's where our hesitation is around making sure that we don't give until we lack. So there's always the notion of holding something back for oneself. But when we are in the bodhisattva mind, we're thinking of giving everything, withholding nothing. In that moment, the desire is whatever is needed, that I will give, that I will do. And he says, for sentient beings, poor and destitute, may I become a treasure, ever plentiful. So then the accomplishing, the gaining, the getting is no longer for myself. How much do I need? You know, and even if I gain more, do I need that for myself? Can that more I gain be used to serve people? Do I need, one time somebody wanted to give Buddha Master some kind of award. He said, I don't need any more awards. You know, he says, I don't need any more honors. You know, I mean, it's only so many you can have, you know. He says, I already have some, whatever it was, 62 honorary degrees or something like that. He said, you know, I know you wanting to do a thing, and it's a good thing, but actually, I just don't need anything else, you know. But how many of us can say that we don't need anything else, you know, when something's being offered to us? When we see something with the eyes and we don't need it, we just want it. Because wanting is a way of life. Every message we get, every billboard, every commercial, you know, all of the voices in the world moving up, keeping up with the Joneses, you know, higher and higher. It's like there's but at some point, one should be able to say, this is all I need. This I use for the benefit of others. Or even this that I have now, been there, done that, had that. someone called me this morning and asked, how could you be selling hardwood? How could you give all of that up? You know, and if you look at the picture, I'm like, oh, that is a lot. That is a lot to give up, to go to one little house, but it's all the same to me. You can only sleep in one bed at a time. You can only be in one room at a time. You can only, so we shouldn't think in terms of large is better. We shouldn't even think in terms of a whole lot of people with a little understanding is better. Better to have a few people with great understanding, because then you can do something with that. Then something can get accomplished more than babysitting. May I lie before them closely in their reach, a varied source of all they might need, a varied source. Some people have in mind what they want to give, what they want to do, and they want to give that. And say, well, that's really good, but I need help with this. Oh, I don't do that, or whatever. It's they only give what they want to give, only do what they want to do. But it's when one can be so flexible to be available for wherever the need is. That is the heart of the Bodhisattva. It's what the others need is. It's not what I want to give or what I want to do. Just doing a little correction here now so that, before we go further, because, purity can be a prison, a perceived purity, right? Can be a prison, and you get stuck in that one. That one is hard to come out of. I mean, it's really hard when one thinks that they're such a good person, because they could be good, but I'm not talking about ordinary goodness. I'm talking about the one that takes one into the place of no self. We want to meditate into it. We want to just sit here until we drop in, nothing, everything dissolves. And that might happen in our meditation. What happens after we come out? Had a group here. We had a group here, really large group too. And they have a renowned meditation teacher who teaches the jhanas, and every day, and 10 days, and every day they're in there doing their jhana thing, and they're so high on the level of attainment and accomplishment. And every time they stepped out of jhana, for something like on a break or for meals or whatever, all of their neediness was right back. All of their sense of entitlement was right back, weren't really accomplishing anything. And it was, and at the end of the retreat, I just told the teacher. She was like, oh, and this was great. And we want to come back, and I'd like to get on the calendar for next year. I said, I'm sorry, you can't come back. And my manager at that time, she's like, wait a minute, Panyawadi. Because it was like 60 people for 10 days, like that. She started doing the math. She said, wait a minute, Panyawadi, wait a minute. She said, no. He said, don't be mad. I said, I'm not mad. But I felt that actually the place, I actually felt our place was defiled. And so she said, well, why not? And I told her, why not? I said, because you all aren't really practicing. I said, and I don't blame them. They're just following the teacher. I said, but from the day that you arrived, even before you arrived, because she constantly had requests and demands, and she wanted this and she wanted that and she wanted it. And I said, no, how that lines up with fewness of wishes and emptiness, I don't know. I just can't piece it together. But what I do know is that we wouldn't be willing to work with this anymore. So she said, well, we could pay more. I said, not for any amount of money. And so Yeah. But you have to know and you have to draw your lines, otherwise you'll live on other people's terms. And if so, then what's the point? What are you doing? Why are you doing it? So we can't let our compassion, our human compassion, take us in a direction that we miss the mark. Because some of that is like wanting to be liked, wanting to be liked, wanting to be seen by others in a certain way, wanting to be accepted by others, wanting others to think you're a nice person, wanting, it's based on a self, a sense of self, and a neediness. But I tell you, life gets good when you don't have to deal with all of that. And that's why we come and take up these studies. And that's certainly why we come and take up residence, to be able to step out of those kinds of ways of having to be with each other, to know a way of living that is not sticky, a way of living where one can be truly authentic, and mostly where one can be free. Freedom does cost something. Freedom cost me a lot, but in terms of whether I feel it costs too much, the answer is no. Freedom costs a lot right now. I'm dealing with Panyadeepa dying, And to be free, I just really can't indulge in the feelings as they come. Now I know I'll get some emails from therapists, and that's okay. But I know what I'm reaching for. And I don't need a pat on the back, and a hug and a cry, because, well, I can't pat myself on the back, but I can certainly cry without your assistance. I really can, but because I am stretching myself to really walk in what I say is true, the times to walk in it is when it's in the minute when it's needed. So the best way that people can support me is to support me at my own aspirations, which is in the moment of adversity, to be able to hold my ground. The same as if that adversity was not present. Now, that's my aspiration. So please don't try to work yours out through me. At my moment of need, support me in my aspiration. That's the best way you can help me. That's when a friend is being held up towards their own goal, and they can walk it out. If everybody's all sorrowful for me, I have to, when people call me, I have to take and neutralize all of that sorrowful energy that's coming towards me all the time. If you can't walk in and see Panyadeepa, glad to see him. But if you step in with all that pity, don't come. Because then he has to process all of that energy. And he's busy. He's busy, trying to process his own and make his preparations. So don't come with all your sorrowfulness. Stay sorrowful from a distance. Or don't be upset if I don't let you come back. Know that it's not personal. It's just trying to stand in our own faith and in our own understanding, and not at a moment of weakness let somebody destroy our own progress. You understand what I mean? This is how you have to apply it to all of life. Otherwise, you'll constantly be losing ground, not even because you didn't have the tenacity, not because you didn't have the understanding, not because you didn't have the strength, but you got crippled by your friends. And that's why he speaks of Dharma friends, for us to be Dharma friends to one another. That's different than being worldly friends. It doesn't mean that the friendship factor is not there, but it means that one helps hold you instead with your own understanding of the Dharma. That's difficult to do sometimes, but that's how we become a friend. Here, Shantideva dedicates his merit to the poor and the destitute. That's when we're saying, for sentient beings, poor and destitute, may I become a treasure, ever plentiful, and may I lie before them closely, within their reach, a varied source of all that they might need. This is a person that is no longer thinking about themselves, but what does another one need? And he's speaking, what does another one need, in line with the Dharma, not in line with our feelings, how sorrowful we feel about this moment or whatever, So I'm saying that our virtue has to exceed ordinary human emotion, is what I'm saying. That it has to have its, it has to pin its quality again upon the Dharma, and so that they can do in that moment what needs to be done. They can give in that moment what truly needs to be offered to ferry a person across, not out of their great sympathy of understanding human frailty, but out of their conviction, understanding dharmic strength. Two very different things. In the story of the great Indian Buddhist master Naropa, his teacher Tilopa appeared to him in the form of a maggot-ridden dog. Feeling disgusted, Naropa tried to jump over the poor creature and run away. Immediately, the dog changed into Tilopa, who said, "If you have aversion for sentient beings, how do you ever expect to awaken from the samsaric mind? Anything that awakens our compassion or wisdom serves as a bodhisattva." Anything that awakens our compassion or wisdom serves as a bodhisattva. So it's not just people that come into our life, it's also situations, is what I'm saying, that comes into our lives. And you don't have certain feelings about a situation when it comes, but you'll have certain feelings towards a person, right? And so at some place it all becomes neutral field, F-I-E-L-D, where we're no longer seeing people as people in a certain way, connecting with them out of our own sense of that would be painful for me. That's where we start, but that's not where we stay. That would be painful for me. So I know how that feels, because then the sympathy that you're offering or whatever energy you're offering is based on one's awareness of lack, of pain, of suffering. If you get this, you'll really get something, is what I'm saying to you now. If you understand what I'm saying, and I hope I can put it together for you better. Remember when Buddha Master was saying that when we talk about the four Brahma Viharas, loving kindness, compassion, altruistic joy, and equanimity, that they have to be in an unenlightened realm. So if we talk about the realm, you know, being in those realms, they may be higher, but they're still in the sensual realms. So they're still tied to feelings. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to relate to that. There's no way one can relate to kindness except through an awareness of an opposite. So hatred, you know, and it's only because one knows hatred, you know, or one knows anger, that they can also incrementally move towards the opposite of that, which would be loving kindness and compassion, you know. So actually compassion uproots cruelty. So there must be some sense of cruelty in order for there to be able to be a movement towards compassion. There has to be some sense of hatred and anger for there to be some movement towards loving kindness. You know, there has to be some sense of jealousy or envy to move towards altruistic joy, joy in the successes of others. And there has to be some sense of self and self-centeredness to move towards the field of equanimity or boundless generosity. So that means that there is still the awareness of that in us. And that's what motivates us in our efforting to move to the other side. But once one continues to develop in these ways that I'm talking to you about now, one stops seeing them through the lens of suffering and offering comfort. You stop having that dichotomy. You stop saying within oneself, oh, that poor, pitiful creature, because I know how this feels, because you no longer have those feelings. Yeah, the feelings may be there, but you don't impute them upon oneself as my feelings. There are feelings and and those feelings are present, meaning I recognize them. I know that they are here. But when one doesn't own them as my feelings, just simply as feelings, unpleasant, perhaps, then one is getting towards the place of a bodhisattva. So I'm not sure many of us really want to be, because right now we're liking it when we feel, you know, compassion for somebody. It's like a good feeling. It's when it ceases to be a feeling and you just become compassion itself, not a feeling of compassion. Well, I can't get it across to you the way I want to. Let's say, like, well, then what's the great boon in that, you know? And exactly, you know, a lot of us are doing these things because when we do them, we feel what? Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. We feel good when we do it. We feel better about ourselves. We feel like we've done a good thing. We get joy in it. And I'm not saying that's something necessarily wrong. I'm simply saying that's not the end of it. That will stumble you if you're doing it for how it makes you feel. What I'm saying is we do what needs to be done. And some of that is trying to figure out the wisdom of what should be done in a certain situation. But then we carry it out. And when we feel this way, it's no more than picking up something, like, say my hair is tangled, you know, or your hair is tangled, and I pick up the comb, I straighten it out. There, that's better, and put the comb down and keep going on. Or I transform into the comb. I become the comb, even. Then that untangles the knots in your hair, and put it down and keep going on. There's nothing else. I transform into the comb. It's not funny whitey with a comb at a, you know, but I become the comb and when it serves its purpose. You know, we don't have to impute any of this that we're doing upon ourselves. So there's no space. If we go in that way, down the road, we'll miss the mark. Sometimes we get beyond a place that we can do something, or that we should even be doing that particular thing. You know, finished with that. No harm, no foul. Finished with it, finished with it. It's only when internally we think that we are doing something that we have not entered into the bodhisattva way, no matter what we do. So that doesn't mean don't enter. I'm just saying don't enter, and keep that in mind. In the beginning, it's okay, because we have to feel some accomplishment in what we do. We have to feel that what we're doing matters, that it's important. We have to see that it takes action to save people. And when we exert that action, we have to see the goodness that comes from it. But after a while, you know, we no longer see that we're doing anything. We just step into a spontaneous moment. We do what needs to be done. And in that way, you know, when you do what causes one to have to experience the samsaric life again, we endeavor to not do it again if it's bad, so that we don't have to. But I tell you something else. There is karma to pay for doing good as well. And don't think that just because you do good, that that's going to give you a place in the heavenly world. You only get a place in the heavenly world of doing good if you were not attached to the goodness. If you are attached to the goodness, it's here where you get the good fruit of your goodness. So you may come back and have extremely good fortune. And then you start worrying about somebody taking it from you. And then you end up in a bad mind and 5 more times coming around. That's it. So make sure you're keeping track of and understanding what you're doing as you're doing it. Okay. Make sure. Okay. So I think that's all I want to talk about today. May you be well and happy and peaceful, and may no harm come to you, no danger. May you be able to meet the inevitable difficulty that will manifest in your life. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable Pano.